Just like with arrays, we can manipulate and modify the information inside a dictionary. Let's start by accessing values. When we did this with arrays, we went through a couple different operations, so let's do the same with dictionaries. We'll add a comment over here and we'll say reading from a dictionary. Like an array, a dictionary also uses subscripting to read values, but instead of passing in an index, we use a key to get a value out of the dictionary. So let's say the user of our app wants to look up some flight information for a particular flight and has an airport code and wants to know which airport this is. So to get the value out of the dictionary, we're going to use subscripting. Remember, we start with the name of the collection. Array is a collection, a dictionary is a collection because it's a collection of values. And so here we're working with a dictionary named airport codes. So we start with that name, which is the name of the constant we assigned. Next, the subscripting syntax requires that we start with a square bracket. Now in an array, when we did this, we passed in an index value. But because a dictionary uses a set of key value pairs, we can use the key to refer to a value. So our user knows that the airport code is LGA. So she passes in this string LGA. And you'll see immediately that the value we get back in the results area is LaGuardia. Now the key has to be typed out exactly how we input it, which includes the case. So if I put LGA in lowercase, well, now that doesn't work. In fact, this is something I didn't mention before, but unlike in the real world, LGA, written in all lowercase, is not the same to a computer as LGA written with uppercase letters. Earlier, we learned about the equality operator, which allows us to compare two things and get a Boolean value for whether they are the same or not. So we get true if they're identical and false if not. So if we compare the two strings, LGA, all uppercase, and LGA, all lowercase, you'll see that, in fact, they're not the same. So when writing strings out, particularly when they're using them as keys, maintaining this case, whether uppercase or lowercase, is particularly important. So this is how we read some values. We have LaGuardia here, so if we wanted to get something else, for example, the Hong Kong International Airport, will pass in the key HKG. Okay, so that's how you get values out, how you read values. What if we wanted to add new key value pairs to a dictionary that we've already created? Let's add a comment in here. We'll say inserting key value pairs. Okay, so first we start with the dictionary that we want to add information to. And then like an array, we use subscripting notation. And instead of assigning something to an index value, we assign something to a key. So we'll say airport codes, and this time I'm going to create a new key. So I want to add a new key value pair. I'll say SYD. Remember, this has to be a string because the type of this dictionary is string to string. And to this new key, we're going to assign the value Sydney Airport. Okay, this isn't working. Can you guess why? Now, without clicking the error, do you know what's going on? Remember, in the very beginning, I said if you assign something to a variable, well, that can be changed. But if you create a constant and assign something to it, you can't change the underlying value. When we created the airport codes dictionary, we assigned it to a constant. To actually add new information to this after we've created it, well, this needs to be a variable. Okay, so here we've used subscripting notation. We've specified a new key, and to that key, we're assigning a value. If you were to type out SYD to read the value using subscripting notation, you should get Sydney Airport in the results area. There tends to be some confusion between reading a key from a dictionary and adding one, so let's clarify. Again, when you use the square bracket subscript syntax and enter a key by itself, you're simply asking for the value of a key that already exists in the dictionary. If you use a completely new key along with an equal symbol, that is an assignment operator, and then assign a new value, then you are adding or inserting into the dictionary. So what happens if we use a key that already exists and then try to assign a value to it? Well, glad you asked. If we use a key that already exists and assign a value, we end up updating an existing key-value pair. So up here, we're reading LGA, we're looking at the key LGA, and we get LaGuardia back. What I'm going to do now, I'll say airport codes, LGA, just like before, and then to this, we're going to assign a new value. We'll say LaGuardia International Airport. And now, if you were to read that same key, use that same key to get the value, you'll see that over here, it's LaGuardia, and now we've changed it to LaGuardia International Airport. Pretty easy. As we saw with arrays, subscripting notation isn't the only way we can peek inside a collection. So Swift has some built-in methods to use with dictionaries as well. To add or update a key-value pair in a dictionary, we use the method updateValue for key. So remember, a method, to use one, we start with the name of the collection, and then a period, and then the name of the method. So we'll start typing updateValue, and Xcode and the playground auto-completes for us, so we'll hit enter. The method first asks for a value and then a key. So over here, we can say something like Dublin Airport for the value, and for the key, we'll say DUB. This method is actually quite nice. If the key already exists, it goes ahead and updates the value that we provide. If the key doesn't exist, it ends up creating a new pair. So obviously this key doesn't exist, and even though we're saying update some value, if you look at airport codes now, which I might have to drag out all the way, you'll see that Dublin is in here as well. Okay, so that's how we can update and read values from a dictionary. What about removing some? Let's add a new comment. Removing key value pairs. To remove values from a dictionary, to remove key value pairs, there are two ways we can do this. We can either use subscript notation or we can use a method. When we use the subscript notation, it's no different than actually updating a value. So again, we start with airport codes, open square bracket, the key we want to use, so I'll use DXB here, and then we assign some value. Now here we're going to assign a special value, and it's called nil. In every programming language, there exists a type to represent nothingness or the absence of values, and in Swift this is nil. By assigning nil to the key DXB, we're telling Swift we want the value for DXB to be nothing. This tells Swift that we want to get rid of the key value pair altogether. And the other way, we can also remove a value by using a method. So again, we start with the name of the collection, a period, and we'll say remove value for key. And what key should we use? Let's say CDG. And there we go. If we look at airport codes now, you should see that both DXB, let's go all the way down here, both DXB and CDG do not show up. And there you have it, arrays and dictionaries. We know how to create new ones and how to add, update, and delete information. But there's still one thing left to cover, and we'll do that in the next video.